Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem. This is a postmortem of my Blitz game number 277. I was white here and played d4, and my opponent played d5. I'm leaving the chess engine off, by the way, so I can do some tactical quizzes later. There are some interesting missed opportunities during the game. So I play c4 here, and we get c6, the Slav defense. Knight f3 to stop the move e5, and knight f6, so perfectly normal Slav at this point. And then after knight c3, g6, a bit of an unusual move. This introduces what's known as the Schlechter Slav. Also could be reached from the Grinfeld move order, where you do the knight out and the pawn to d5 first, and then you play c6 later. So anyway, a very solid way for black to play, and kind of interesting. So I play e3, which turns out I wasn't sure. You don't see the setup all that often. I wasn't sure e3 was the normal move here. I guess bishop g5. That was sort of my feeling. I didn't think bishop g5 was doing a whole lot. He's not necessarily going to move this e-pawn, so there won't really be a pin on the knight there. Okay, so I play e3, defending the c-pawn, so if he ever takes, I can take back with the bishop in one step. And then after bishop g7, well, I need to move my bishop anyway, so I will lose a tempo recapturing, but I want to be able to castle. Looks like bishop e2 and bishop d3 are about equally popular. It's not a slam dunk that you want it on this diagonal, because it is hitting on a solid pawn there, but it helps support the center, so there's some advantage to it here. There's also a case to be made for bishop to e2 as well. Okay, he castles. I castle. And then queen c7 was played. So queen c7, a bit of an unusual move. I think bishop g4 right here is the most common way to play. And after queen c7, we're just out of the opening book. So let's go ahead and look at this. Look at the notation tab. Game continues queen e2 and knight bd7 and e4. So up until the point where I play e4, the engine thinks white has a decent advantage here, and it thinks this move e4 is giving it away, basically allowing black to equalize through the sequence of moves that we see in the game. So an option here would be to take in the center that the chess engine prefers. Just take on d5 and see how black recaptures. The engine was preferring the knight recapture, which if I knew for sure he was taking back with the knight, I would definitely be tempted to play c takes d5. I was a little more worried about pawn takes and maintaining a center pawn there. Wasn't sure I could get much, but I guess I get the open c file in that case. So that's probably the best way to play. So e4, maybe a little bit of a premature pawn break. There were other moves that could have been done to set it up, like bishop to d2 and rook to c1 before pushing. But anyway, I pushed. And so there's this exchange. I'm sorry, yeah, I take. He takes. And I take with the bishop. And then knight f6 gains a tempo on the bishop, and the bishop drops back to c2. So, so I guess black is kind of equalized in this position. But there was a better move here for black right here. I guess, yeah, after knight f6 and bishop c2, white still has an opening edge. So the way for black to get the most mileage out of this position is to put in the move e5 right here. And that's the line that the computer likes for black. And a very common idea in the Slav to try and challenge this setup. If white is allowed to just maintain this central duo of pawns, you know, it just exerts a lot of influence over the position. So you kind of want to undermine it. And so yeah, e5 is just a logical move. And of course, if I take it, it's well protected by both the knight and the queen. And if I push on, then well, it opens up a square on c5 for his knight. So e5 is the way to go there. After knight f6, bishop c2, so white's got the opening advantage back again. But I give it up immediately with the move queen d3. So the engine here, after bishop g4, just thinks I should go ahead and play h3, which is a very logical and common move in this position. I've played that way myself. The point is this bishop doesn't have a retreat square, because if it goes back, then you play g4 and just win a piece. Well, a piece for 2 pawns, but it's worth it. And so the bishop will typically take. If it just retreats, then it's kind of a waste of tempo. And if the bishop takes, then at least you've gained the bishop pair. So that's probably the way to play it. Bishop d3, he takes anyway. And so I get my advantage back once again. So I'm not playing the most accurate moves, but my opponent isn't either. So that's the way it goes. e6. And then, yeah, where are we going here? Okay, we looked at that one. Yeah, okay, so the game continues with a slight edge for white all along for quite a few moves. So I think these are logical moves. This knight move to b6 was a mistake because it's easy for me to just shut it out and then the knight has to reroute. So a little bit of waste of time. And so white's advantage has been growing through that series of moves and, you know, just logically putting pieces in the center. And then I retreated the bishop because I was worried about the c file opening up. And maybe not the best move there, but not a bad move. And then bishop to f4, kicking the queen after my bishop gets kicked. Queen d8. And so again, some more maneuvering. This is one of those games where I'm just kind of poking around. I have the edge, I have a space advantage, and I have the bishop pair, but I have to try and figure out how to break through. I was trying to support the idea of h4, h5 here with this queen move. So just a bunch of maneuvering. Bishop e5 and knight to h5. So somewhere around here. Right here, yeah. Bishop takes g7 was maybe not the best way to maintain an advantage, although it still leaves white's got a good enough position that even after that there is still an edge for white, but the engine is recommending g3 there to, I guess, restrict the motion of this knight so it doesn't have any good squares to land on. So after this, the engine thinks the most accurate way for black to play is take back with the queen and leave the knight here, and maybe the knight can go to f4 later. Start putting some pressure on my position. So the knight took back, and so it kind of retreated. And then rook e5 was played. And now knight to f5. Okay, so my next move is a mistake. King to h1. So here, after king to h1, here's your first tactical quiz. What's the best move for black here? Okay, pause the video if you want some time to think about it. Black can simply gain a pawn by taking here. If I take back, I lose the rook, so I can't take back. I can try defending the rook, I guess, with queen to g3. But anyway, it's not that great. Black, I guess, you know, black is not winning, but he's white no longer has an advantage, and maybe black is slightly better after this move. Knight takes d4. The chess engine gives some crazy line involving bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. I can't imagine what's going on here. I guess I get the knight at the end. And well, this pawn is going. Anyway, crazy tactical sequence. Wouldn't expect you to see all of that, but just noticing that you can take this pawn with a threat against my queen, and that I can't take back because my rook is hanging. That's the tactic. That's the main idea there. Okay, so my opponent overlooked that, fortunately, and played rook a e8. And now I push on with g4. And now, for some reason, this tactic is not as good. I guess because I can play queen g3 here without... so after knight takes d4 here, queen g3 defends the rook. His queen is under attack and his knight is under attack, and there's no safety valve of taking my queen. So what he plays actually is the best move, knight h4. And now the engine rates this position as about even. And let's go on a few moves here. Queen to f6. This is all good. I push on, trying to get my attack going. Let's see. Yeah, f4. f4 was played. And then queen e7. So queen e7 was a mistake. Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and put this on the board. So can you spot the tactic here? It's white's turn to move. What's a good move for white? Okay, once again, pause the video if you haven't spotted it. I don't know, for some reason it's a simple tactic, but it's a little bit hard to see. But it shouldn't be hard to find, so if you haven't spotted it, it's worthwhile to pause the video and stare at the position until you see the tactic. I'm going to give the answer away now. You can play rook h5 here, which I didn't see at all. There's a pin on this pawn. So this rook is completely safe. And where is this knight going? It has no squares to go to. And it's only defended by the queen. You can't defend it once again with the pawn because g5 is an illegal move. It would open up the line of the bishop onto the king. So there's no way of saving the knight, and this move, rook h5, just wins a piece. Pretty amazing, actually. The way these things pop up. But that's why it's important to be alert and look for these tactics when you have the time, especially if you're in a slow game. You know, always survey your threatening moves. Notice where all the pins are. See if you can make some threat that your opponent can't meet. Okay, I pushed on with f5. One other point I wanted to make here. You know, I had played this move f4 with the idea of playing g5, kicking the queen, and hopefully winning the knight. But this does not work, so black could just ignore this threat. For example, playing a rook move, and allow me to push on with g5. Takes, takes, and then queen here, check, is the escape valve. So after knight takes, queen takes, knight takes, you know, my knight is hanging. I might be losing a pawn here. This pawn is hanging too. My rook is hanging, and this pawn is hanging. And this one is under attack as well. So this is actually good for black. So he should have just let me. He should have let me carry out my threat in this case. But he played queen e7, allowing this tactic, which I missed. I pushed on with f5, and so maybe a slight edge for white, but black should still hold with accurate defense. The best move, actually, according to the engine, is just to put the queen back on f6, getting it back into a defensive position there. But my opponent took, and now from here on out I'm winning. Well, up until the very end, if you saw the end. There's a surprise finish. But this is just winning. Let's see, there's one more tactic coming up here. A couple more. So let's play forward. So yeah, move here. After this exchange, when the rook is hitting the queen, the engine is recommending queen to e3 here. So the way I played it keeps some advantage, but not the strongest advantage. So I went ahead and took, and this is a valid tactic. If he takes my queen, I can take his rook with check, and then after he takes back, I can grab the queen. So I'll be up material. So queen takes f7 is the best move here, and then rook takes a8. Once again, this rook is defended, so I didn't have to trade. The engine is saying I could go to d3 or e3 here, I think. But I took this way, still keeping some advantage for white. So I mean, white is still winning all through this. And after this check and the exchange, no, I take it back. After this move queen f3, actually it's a draw with best play. So right here, I need to do something like queen d3. Yeah, this is my last chance to try this idea. Now notice queen e3 is not possible. The idea with queen e3, by the way, was to hit the pawn on h6. I don't know if I mentioned that. Now the idea with queen to d3 in this position, I assume, is to set up this battery with the bishop and get some counter pressure and just hold on to my material. And it's a little bit scary to play this move, but I guess it's, you know, I don't know why exactly it's better than when I played rook g1. Maybe the rook, the rook is better placed here defending the pawn, I guess. So I can move the queen. He can still do this check and go into an endgame, but I have a few more options. So anyway, after this check and this exchange, I lose a tempo. I have to move the rook, and I can't move here. Sort of the natural move defending the pawn. This loses. So here's another tactical quiz for you. What's the What's the move for black here? I'll give you a clue. It's a very typical mating pattern, one that I've discussed in Chess Basics. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. If you want time to look for it, pause the video. The answer is just rook e2, and the threat is rook takes h2, checkmate, and the king can't move. The knight is already guarding the escape squares, and the rook is guarding that escape square. So actually there's a forced mate in 3 or 2 from this position, so no way to avoid the mate. So anyway, got to be careful here. I played rook g3 to go after the knight, and he played knight takes d4. So he's equalized, and so this should be a draw, and it stays in a drawn position for a while. So let's go forward a few moves. Right here. Okay, so this was a blunder. I think, are we getting up to the last? Yeah, this is the last tactical quiz. Okay, it's white's turn to move. What's the tactic here? Very simple. Everybody should spot this. I should have spotted this even in the Blitz game. Okay, giving the answer away, just rook g3, pinning the knight. The knight is under attack. There's no piece that can defend it. There is one escape with check, but it still loses the knight. So there's just no way out. It just immediately wins a piece. Okay, I took the knight, and we're back to a draw. And it stays drawn. And this is a drawn endgame until h5 is played. And now this endgame is winning for white. So this, if you're interested in endgame play, this is a very interesting position. Black has lots of moves that he can make to draw. Any king move, king left, king right. Pawn moves over here. I don't know about this one. Maybe even that one. All these moves draw, and this move loses, h5. So if you're interested in studying endgames, you might want to take a look at this position. I can't give a succinct explanation as to why this loses. I guess because I can nail down his pawns on the queen side now, and he just runs out of moves. And if I try to do it, say after he's made a king move by pushing my pawn, and then this side locks up, yeah, I don't quite understand it, honestly. So it's something to think about in your endgame studies. Why is this move h5 losing? But you can see from the game continuation, well, the immediate c5 is best, but b4 still keeps the win. And all his moves are okay. It's just that everything loses from this point forward. So takes. Here we lock up. And so now I understand why this is winning. This is winning because I've got a tempo on his king. His king has to move right or left, and whichever way he goes. Well, if he goes to this side, I can go here first, and his king can't go forward. He's got to waste time with his king. And I can even drive him away from the pawn and probably capture it, right? This is one of those positions where, yeah, I can just win the pawn. So he has to go the other direction, which he did. He played king e6 here. And this is a race, but I win the race. So this goes along. Let's just step through it. And it's completely winning for white the whole way, until, as I said, wait for the surprise finish. So this is good technique here. I show how to approach with the queen using a combination of checks and pins. And then when the king is in front of the pawn, eventually you get your queen close enough to deliver a check that forces the king in front of the pawn. And when the king is in front of the pawn, you get a tempo for your king to creep closer. And you just have to get your king close enough, and you win. Let's see, that was a wasted tempo there, but it doesn't matter. I kept the win all the way up until right here. Okay, so there's a mate in 2 or 3 from this position. It's white's turn to move. And you can probably play almost anything here because black can't do much. You can play anything except the move I played, which was king d2. So let's show the mating ideas here. If king e3, then notice that black only has one move. This is guarded. This is guarded. The pawns are blocked. So that's the only move, king c1, and then queen here is checkmate. There's also another mate over here just by dropping down. Once again, all the squares are guarded. So, and the pawns can't move, so king c1 is the only move, and then queen here is a checkmate. So two nice checkmates. So you can play pretty much any move except this one. And other moves, you know, just waste time. But this move results in a stalemate draw. So that's how the game ended. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.